Hi everyone. So today we have Harsha Sir with us. So we need to have a strong foundation on this field. One good thing about Harsha Sir is there are three pillars in data science. What exactly ML engineer or data scientist, what they do, we don't know how to implement things, we don't know how to deploy things. See, whatever I'm going to teach in DA, that is purely mathematics oriented and exam oriented and research oriented. The most important topic would be statistics, probability, and mathematics. Can you please explain me about what are all the projects that you have worked in your life? I would say that more than 80% of the data science. Hi everyone. So today we have Harsha Sir with us, and Harsha Sir is a manager in AIML, and he is working in top four companies, one of the top four companies. And one good thing about Harsha Sir is he has worked in various domains and he has delivered end-to-end projects which are very complex. So first we'll talk about what are all the projects he has worked on, and then we will take each project and we will dive deep into that project so that you'll understand what exactly ML engineer or data scientist what they do and how they do end-to-end projects. Okay, so that is the intention of this, and we are going to have multiple podcasts. And one more thing that I want to tell you, good news or great news is, see, whatever I'm going to teach in GATE DA, that is purely mathematics oriented and exam oriented and research oriented, right? And when you go to any company as a ML engineer or a data scientist, that much knowledge is not required, that much depth is not required, right? But rather than that, they will see your practical experience, right? So Harsha Sir is going to bring up a course on YouTube for free, where he will be training you in the industry oriented AIML, okay? Basically applied AML. Now, I already know that you are very busy with GATE, DA, and CS, and it would take at least 1000 to 1500 hours. And you have to do a lot of practice questions and you have to attend my classes. So, there is too much on your plate. But if you can manage some time and if you can watch the YouTube videos also by Harsha Sir, you will really get the practical perspective of where we are going to use various ML models and what industries, and you will learn a lot. Okay, so the intention is you should be able to get placed as a ML engineer or a data scientist in any company that you want. And you should be able to do lot of projects, and in fact we are going to do lot of projects in the YouTube, and you can place all those projects in your resume so that you can explain about them, okay, in a better way. Okay, so that is the intention. Then we are also going to start internships. Okay, these are on the website, and these are the paid internships where sir will take one project and he will make you do it end to end. And we are going to give you internship certificate, and it will be a very cheap. Like we are going to charge probably 2000, 3000 for that, not more than 5000. You can do it as a BTech project, and we will give you the internship certificate from our company. So, and also we will give you the project report. So you can show it as a BTech project. So a lot of things are coming up, and on YouTube most of the things are free, and very few only for internship we will charge something, and you can find the details on the website. Okay, so let's now let Harsha Sir speak. Okay, hi Harsha Sir.
Hello.
Can you please explain me about what are all the projects that you have worked in your life?
Okay, so that is a very interesting question because I have been doing a lot of work all this while. So initially, when I started, I worked with one of the largest retailer in the world. For their Latin America market, I built pre-time, fill rate, forecasting models. I built EOQ optimization kind of model, and I've done a lot of work in that space. Then after we moved on from that, I worked with Tesco. Tesco is, let's say, in UK, it is one of the larger retailers.
Yeah, Tesco is a very big retailer in UK.
In UK. So for Tesco, I worked in the space, range, this domain. And from there, I joined my current company. This is one of the big four companies. And I originally joined as a consultant, then got promoted to senior consultant, and now I'm a manager. So in over here again, I worked across domains. In my current company, one of the first companies I worked is for an aircraft engine manufacturer, car manufacturer. Right? And for an aircraft engine manufacturer, I worked on predicting failure of an aircraft engine, which is now deployed across, let's say, 10,000 plus engines using ML and AI.
So your project is now deployed in 10,000 aircrafts.
Engines.
Okay, yeah, aircraft engines. Aircraft
At
engines
that time.
predicting the failure.
At that time. So it could have been more.
It could have been more.
It might have been changed by now.
Okay.
But so at that time it was deployed across 10,000 aircraft engines. And after that I went on and I worked with.
Is it going?
It is not going. Then I worked with another agricultural company in India, and for them I built their data layer. I mean, they were creating a. They were trying to come to India, set up their offices here. So I helped them build their data center of excellence. And after that, I worked with one of the pharma companies, large pharma companies here in Hyderabad. And for this pharma company, I built some AI models related to Gen AI, these kinds of things. And then I worked with a FMCG company, one of the larger FMCG manufacturers. For that, I worked in North America market, did demand forecasting for that company. And then I worked with another pharmaceutical, this time a global pharmaceutical company. Again, did some AI ML work there, right? And then I worked for a mining company, again Australian mining company. For them, we built predictive maintenance kind of structures and systems, again using Gen AI and ML. And along this way, I've worked with. I mean, these are my primary companies that I work with, but I've also assisted or I've helped significantly in a lot of other projects. I've helped in another large consumer goods company where I built their manning application. Manning application is how many people should be there, what kind of people should be there in a plant, who should be working at what time, this kind of thing, right? I work with a shipping company in the middle. I worked for a small while. I worked with some other small things, etc., etc. So this is the kind of projects that I've done across my 9 years.
But basically, what happens is generally people will confine themselves to one domain and they will do only work on one domain. But Harsha Sir has worked on various domains on various projects. So whatever he has spoken now might be too technical for you to understand. So what we will do is we will take each project and we will understand. I will ask him in very details in such a way that you will understand what he has done and how the work is generally done in AIML industry in various domains. Now, once you understand various domains, the kind of work that is getting on in various domains, then you can also see these are all. For example, if you want to work in pharma, applying AIML, you should have the domain knowledge of pharma to some extent. Then only you will be able to apply AIML. So now the thing is, whatever domain you work in, having knowledge in AIML will get you better opportunities, especially when you have that domain specific knowledge. You can identify the problems, and now if you know AIML, you can see how you can apply AIML models in order to solve that problem, right? So we will take each industry and we will talk about what are the problems they have faced and how Sir has helped them in fixing those problems, and what are the AI models he has worked on, what kind of things. It will be at a very high level, and I will try to see that all the technical terms are explained in detail. Later, when he starts the course on YouTube, he will be going right from the basics. So, for example, if you see probability and statistics, we are going to in GATE DA course, we are going to go in a very high depth. But for industry, that much depth is not required. But if you are planning to do research, for example, if you want to go to IISc or IITs, then GATE DA course will definitely help you in getting good grades in those courses, because I have done all these courses in IISc, and the way I teach these courses is in such a way that even if you go to IISc, all these courses will feel them to be very easy. Now the other part is how we are going to apply probability and statistics in industry, how we are going to apply linear algebra in industry, and what are the various ML popular models. Even though we are going to cover all the popular models in the GATE DA course, in industry you don't have to know about every model. Basically, whenever the need arises, you are going to learn about it and implement it, right? It will not take more than 1 week. Okay, so if you follow Harsha Sir's course, you will get a better understanding about the industrial applications. Okay, so that is the intention. I will be teaching GATE DA in such a way that you will be able to become a better researcher, and Sir will be teaching AIML in such a way that you will become a ML engineer or data scientist in industry. Okay, so that is what the intention is. He has given a very high overview about all the projects he has worked on. Now let us take each domain and let us try to understand what are the problems he has solved, how he has solved them, how he has delivered the project. See, now if he has done an end-to-end project in aerospace, and this is currently his project was earlier used in 10,000 plus aircrafts, right? So that is not a small thing. So this knowledge you are not going to get anywhere. I don't think that there are very handful of people who could share such kind of knowledge, right? So we will take each project one by one, and it is going to be very interesting. You are not going to understand all the technical terms, but I will try to ask him in detail about all the technical terms. Okay.
When it comes to data science, there are three pillars in data science. Data science, ML, AI, whatever, there are three pillars. First one is mathematics. You should have at least if you don't have a strong calculative nature, what is after what, if you don't have that kind of structure, you should at least have an intuition as to how math works, what is how the fundamentals are. That intuition is at least important. Now in math also, I would say for data science, for ML, for AI, the most important topics would be statistics, probability and linear algebra. In statistics, probability, linear algebra, I studied it long time back, but the intuition is still useful today. So people will ask, okay, why are we studying statistics? What is the point of statistics in machine learning? It is not just for your model building behind the scenes. It is also that when you have to explain something to clients, when you have to explain something to businesses will not understand if you say, okay, I did something, this is the model, use it. They will always ask, they'll always have questions, they'll always ask, they'll always try to pinpoint. Your model will not always be 100% accurate. You will have issues, you'll have errors. And it is the statistics and probability background that will help you answer these questions in a decent way in which the businesses can understand and use your model. The second,
which means you are going to say that with 90% accuracy, this is going to work.
Not, it depends. Again, so it is not just about the one pillar. It is also about the other two pillars. What are the other two pillars? The second pillar is technology. So, okay, you can know math very nicely, very interestingly, but if you don't know how to implement things, if you don't know how to deploy things, if you don't know how to jump into things and then figure out what the issue is, if you don't know how to clean the data, if you don't know how to handle the data, these are all issues that will make you not a good data scientist, right? You cannot say, okay, I'll build a model in a Jupyter notebook and somebody else will deploy it. You should. I'm not saying you should be you should be able to deploy it in the same way as someone who does that full time. But at least you should know how to deploy things. You should at least know what is Flask. How do you deploy a Flask application? Let's say you want to do a pet project. You should be able to know how you can deploy a pet project. Let's say there is a website for free where you can deploy a Flask application. How do you do that? Right, end to end from your own self, Your core can be something, but whatever others are there, that also you need to understand at least a little bit. The third pillar is business. Whichever domain you are in, you need to understand that domain. And the same math will be applicable in different ways in different domains. You cannot go to a business leader and say, okay, I did a hypothesis test, my alpha is less than 5%, so my p value is less than 5%. So, yeah, this is a significant result. The business leader will not understand it. Even if he understands it, they will not go forward and implement it. So there is actually a study that has been done by Gartner, but there are also other studies by other companies which say that more than 80% of the data science projects do not go into production. They are not used anywhere. I have also faced the same issue in the initial years of my life. Why is that the case? That is the case because one of these three pillars is not taken seriously. There's actually a fourth pillar, but that is not in our hands, so I'm not going to talk about it. But at least one of these three pillars is not taken seriously. You cannot explain the problem properly to the client, therefore it is not deployed. Or you have built a simple sklearn model, you don't know how to productionize it. You built a notebook, you don't know how to productionize it yourself. That will be a challenge. Because if you know how to productionize it, you also build models thinking about that, right? If you build models without thinking about how do you put it into production, then there will be a big gap between these two, and whichever team has to productionize, let's say it's not your team, it's a different team, that gap will not be resolved easily, right? Or you're not strong at the fundamentals. You assume some things, maybe assume that, you don't know that, okay, this is supposed to follow a normal distribution. You didn't know that, you assumed it, and the results are not coming properly. Results for your small sample will come properly, but overall they're not come properly. So you need to have a strong foundation in all these three, and this is a domain where it is very easy to go haywire, right? Because you're predicting something in the future. It is it is like astrology. You can be right, you can be wrong, but okay, you're putting some data behind it, you're putting some thinking behind it before doing something, and it's very easy not to deploy. Most of the projects do not get deployed. I don't think there's any other industry in the world where you say, okay, 85% of the work that I did is never used, but you still get paid a lot of money. This is that domain. So here, if you're able to, let's say, put to production more than 50% of the projects that you did, that itself is a great job in itself. If you can productionize 90+% of the projects that you did, then you're a very good data scientist. You're a very good ML engineer, AI engineer. So that is these are the kinds of things that I want to bring, apart from learning math and detail that Sir will do. I want to bring all these additional concepts as to how to think, how to convince businesses. Some of this will be dry. Some of this I will not go into math at all for a while. I'll explain, and then we will come into math, or then we will do some coding, things like this. But I want to look at data science from a different angle, not from an academic angle, but from an industry angle, and then see how that works.
Great. Okay. So thank you all. So we will do more podcasts with Sir, and we'll get into each domain, and we will understand a lot of things at a very high level. But when he's going to teach the classes, you are going to understand most of the basics. So we are going to look at various domains at a very high level. Thank you.